It is one of the most well-known and most often quoted chapters in the Bible. Brides and grooms frequently have it read at their weddings. It represents Paul at his very best, both theologically and rhetorically. I'm talking, of course, about 1 Corinthians 13, that great chapter on love. After all, that's the focus of this fourth week of Advent. We lit the fourth candle, the candle of love, on the Advent wreath this past Sunday. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. Let me start today by reading the passage. Paul writes, "If I speak in the tongue of mortals and of angels but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love." This week we've seen how important love is supposed to be within the Christian community. Both the letter 1 John and the Gospel of John lift it up as an indispensable element within the community of faith. But it takes someone like Paul to wrestle with the intersection between the ideal and the real. And the reality is that Christians from the very beginning have struggled to exhibit love for one another within the church. Paul's letters to the church in Corinth reveal just how fractious churches could be back then, and still can be, by the way. Read his letters through in one or two sittings, and you'll be struck by the fact that Paul was doing his dead-level best to get a fractured congregation to stay together. Everyone had his or her own ideas about the faith, and there were even competing evangelists preaching versions of the gospel that were in conflict with one another. The church in Corinth, in particular, had broken into parties, each party loyal to a different evangelist and a different version of the gospel. The predictable result was that members of the church in Corinth were hopelessly divided. Love one another? Not hardly. All of which makes this chapter in 1 Corinthians all the more remarkable and poignant. You think your understanding of the gospel is superior? Great. But if you cannot love your fellow disciples, it means nothing. If you think you have higher spiritual gifts than your neighbors, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you cannot love your fellow believers, all the spiritual gifts in the world amount to nothing. You think your sacrificial generosity is a shining example to your fellow believers? Excellent, and thank you for your tithes and offerings. They certainly help. But if you cannot bring yourself to love your fellow believers, all your generosity adds up to exactly zero. In short, there are lots of things that discipleship involves, but one thing stands out as essential: love. As Paul says, even faith and hope take a back seat to love. Love is what we might call the sine qua non of the church. Sine qua non is a Latin phrase that translates literally to without which not. It refers to anything that is essential to the existence of anything else. You might have all of the other ingredients or elements for something, but without the sine qua non, the thing doesn't really exist. With the church, you can have a building, a congregation, and clergy. You can have pews and hymnals and choirs. You can have all the trappings of church life. But without love, does the church really exist as the body of Christ? For Paul, the answer is no. Love is the sine qua non of the church. Without love, well, we're just a bunch of noisy people. Tomorrow, the mystery of the Incarnation. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.